past that Dragon Ball has made canon, and many will call it unoriginal and relying too much on the past and nostalgia. That's also a fair complaint, but the events of this episode really aren't all that shocking to me. You see, a couple of months ago, I made a video discussing the possibility of Super Saiyan 4 coming to Dragon Ball Daima. Now, there are more popular figures in the Dragon Ball fandom that have insider knowledge and knew for months that Super Saiyan 4 Goku was going to happen in the series, plus whatever else is going to happen in the finale. I'm not one of those insiders. I did not know for a fact that Super Saiyan 4 was coming. Me thinking he was coming or that it could come was all pure conjecture and theorizing. But in that video, I explored why Super Saiyan 4 becoming canon wasn't an insane possibility and why it could actually happen and be somewhat realistic. And the response to that video in the comments was fairly mixed, with some people commenting things along the likes of, "That's absurd and no way this is going to happen," and some people going like, "Hey, I'd like to see that, that makes sense." The episode just starts off with Super Saiyan 3 Goku versus Goma. Super Saiyan 3 Goku loses, Neva approaches Goku and powers him up, and we see Super Saiyan 4 Goku in all his chibi glory. It is Super Saiyan 4 chibi Goku. He's not an adult, which some people are complaining about. They want to see an adult Super Saiyan 4, which I think could still happen, but we'll see on that. Goku takes on Goma with his new power, and eventually Goku gets reduced back to his base form, and we'll see what happens next episode. But I highly doubt we've seen the lives of Super Saiyan 4 in Dragon Ball Daima. Either Goku will use it again, we could possibly see Vegeta use it, we could possibly see a Super Saiyan 4 fusion. I don't know yet. But there's a lot of things that Dragon Ball Daima could do that's not going to be a surprise. Seeing a Vegeta or Gogeta will not shock me. Seeing Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta would not shock me. And while I do think Super Saiyan 4 appearing in Dragon Ball Daima and becoming technically canon is such a crazy thing to happen, and it can be hard to believe, I'm not necessarily super surprised. And that's going based off the history of modern Dragon Ball. Modern Dragon Ball is a different beast than it was back in its original run. Dragon Ball today is not afraid to rely on fan service and make crazy, unthinkable things happen. Now, if you had told me, say back in 2017, before the Tournament of Power started, that one day Super Saiyan 4 Goku would become canon in a kid form, I would call you crazy and would never believe it. But a lot has changed since then, because the further Dragon Ball Super has went and modern Dragon Ball has continued, the more common it is for the unthinkable to happen. Toriyama and Dragon Ball today have no qualms about borrowing from the past and doing retcons of previous characters, concepts, ideas, transformations, and all. Just in general, they've not been afraid to take ideas from the past and rehash them into modern concepts for Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball Daima. The first instance of Dragon Ball Super doing this, making something unthinkable canon that fans had wanted for a long time, or had theorized about for a long time, was in the Future Trunks arc. They brought back Future Trunks, who was a fan favorite character, pretty much out of nostalgia and for fan service. But more importantly, they made evil Goku a reality. If you weren't around back then, when we heard about Goku Black, essentially an evil Goku actually being the main villain for an arc, everybody was super surprised because that was just a long time fan theory that was pretty much very edgy and not well thought out by most fans. But then it actually happened, and it was actually pretty decent for most parts. We're so conditioned and used to the idea of Goku Black being such a popular villain in the franchise that we forget there was a time that him even being a concept and actually happening and being canon was unthinkable. We saw the return of Vegito, and that was fan service because in Toriyama's original drafts, we learned that Goku and Vegeta were never meant to fuse, and Toyotaro decided to do it because he thought the fans would like it. And then the Tournament of Power rolled around, and we saw Kel, who we assume was pretty much a canonized version of Broly. Toriyama's take on if Broly or Legendary Super Saiyan was going to happen, and he made her female and made her a Super Saiyan that had a Legendary Super Saiyan-esque form from Universe 6. So the entire concept wasn't really from Toriyama, but he helped design the character. But where things really got crazy, and the unthinkable really started to happen in Dragon Ball Super, was with Dragon Ball Super Broly. Because for a long time, fans wanted to see more of Broly. He was the most popular villain from the original Dragon Ball Z movies. People loved the Broly movies, and they loved Broly as a villain, and they wanted to see more of him. But back then, we thought the idea of something like that ever happening to be unthinkable. No way that's going to happen. If you said you thought it was going to happen, people would laugh at you. And then the Dragon Ball Super Broly poster leaked one day, and it happened. Broly was being made canon, just like Super Saiyan 4 was today. And everybody was up in arms and completely shocked. And then we saw Bardock again as well, and then we saw Gogeta. We saw Goku and Vegeta fuse to make Gogeta in a quote-unquote canon Dragon Ball movie against freaking Broly. All of that was absolutely unthinkable. There is this continual Dragon Ball Super superhero with Gohan getting a new form, Cell Max being a rehash of Cell from the past also happening. Modern Dragon Ball loves to borrow from the past. They love taking advantage of fan service, and Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Dragon Ball Daima is no exception to that. Making all these new forms and characters canon and redoing them with a little different stylistic approach makes a lot of money. That's new characters they can put in the video games, that's new merchandise they can make, it's more characters to add to games like